Ah, so
Thank you
glad
so
to
much.
join you for
Yes, I
this.
know. It's fantastic to have you here. Thank you
Mm,
so much for taking the time to join me.
mm,
And I'm just going to do a quick introduction for those of you who are my followers who perhaps don't know you. I've known Betty since I think it was 2016 when I
mm.
first went to Violet's amazing studio in Mankato, and you were super sweet and offered me and Violet and Stacey a free yoga class, which was
Mm.
beautiful because you're a beautiful teacher. And you performed in the Hafla, and it was you did a dance with a chair, if I remember rightly. It was contemporary style,
That sounds
which was
right. Yeah.
amazing. And from contemporary style dance, you haven't necessarily come from a rakshaki or belly dance background, is that right?
Sorry, could you repeat that last piece again?
Yeah, so your style is more you're more of a contemporary dancer rather than rakshaki or belly dance, yeah. But
Yep, that's right.
obviously you've been working closely with Violet on her Fly Fusion program on the
Mhm.
all of the anatomy for dancers stuff on there and all of that wonderful
Yep.
geeky anatomy stuff. So
Yeah, I
so
love it.
yeah, welcome. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Great to be here.
So how long have you been dancing for?
Um, I suppose since I was a little girl, I started dancing. Maybe I remember the first time I started dancing with a group was maybe when I was 10 or 11.
Wow.
So my, older sister joined a dance studio. It was actually Kickline, if y'all have ever heard of that style of dance.
No, what's kickline?
Kickline is now a quite competitive, actually, dance sort of sport activity. So, kickline is a lot like what it sounds like. They're usually large groups of dancers, and think like the Rockettes, like out of
Oh
New York
wow.
City. It's a bit like that style of dance, but it's actually become a very competitive sort of dance form,
Wow.
particularly in like high school level as well as college level. Though there are college level kickline. So that was my first actually dance group was a kickline dance group, but
Oh, cool.
they also offered like hip hop, jazz style classes. So that was maybe my first ever sort of formal dance performance when I was 10 or 11. So yeah,
Oh, amazing. So, wow, then that's so cool.
yeah.
Was there anything particularly that inspired you to get started dancing?
Um, I am. I think it's. I can't even say if there's any one thing, but I know that I've always been more oriented towards movement as a way to let go of stress or
Mm,
as a way to express myself. And so I think dance just happened to be that perfect sort of niche. I think also I've always sort of had this longing to be a performer, but I was very shy and I continue to be an introverted person as an adult, but as a child, I was so shy. So the idea of being in theater or speech club was just out of the question, right? I could not have done it. But dance was that perfect way of kind of combining that enjoyment of physical movement with that performance element that I think I really wanted, but was like, all right, I
amazing.
can't be talking in front of people though, right?
Oh, cool. Well, thank you very much for talking in front of people now. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to do, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Hmm.
So did you always incorporate fitness into your practice when you were younger? Were you into fitness stuff as well?
I played different sports when I was younger. That was really my main source of
Mhm.
activity, but there was never any element of, training the body or conditioning the body. That was a really strong focus. There's always a little bit in the dance studio, or you do a little bit as part of class,
Yeah.
but that never was really something when as I first started dance, that wasn't really a big part of it. What actually sort of maybe got me started more on fitness and anatomy was I have an identical twin sister, for
Oh,
folks who
cool.
don't know, and she studied exercise science in her undergraduate degree, her bachelor's degree. And she had to do a project for one of her classes, which is she needed to personal train or coach someone in a fitness program. And she we were talking on the phone one day, and she said, oh, like none of my people are participating, and I don't think I'm gonna have anything to talk about in my presentation in class. What am I gonna do? And I said, well, why don't you train me? I'll definitely do it, you know? So
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that
yeah.
was that was maybe where I really started to get more into fitness and seeing how that could really actually benefit my dancing in a lot of ways, right? Yeah.
Was there anything specific when you started doing the training with your sister that made you go, oh, hang on a second? Was
Mm.
there anything you noticed in your dancing specifically that gave you that realization?
That was a long time ago. So I'm trying to think if there's any one specific thing. What I do remember is just having more energy
Mm.
and endurance and just feeling more ready to engage in whatever was kind of thrown at me for dance.
Mm.
That was in college, so early in college. And actually later in my college career, I actually took college dance classes, which I think I would not have dared do if I hadn't have had some of that conditioning and I felt like I physically could just try this completely different style of dance, which
Mm.
was more contemporary modern dance, which is now, of course, like one of my favorite dance forms. So I really think that was a direct result of learning more about my body, about engaging in that experience of training. I think that's maybe just the key piece.
Yeah,
Having that
yeah.
confidence.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Confidence is
Yeah.
is a strong thing. Just feeling confident that your body is strong enough to do these things, right?
Yep. Yep.
What's your current philosophy then with regards to fitness and dance?
Sure. Well, I think my if I had to sum it up in one word, I would say my current philosophy is probably balance.
Mm.
So knowing when to rest, I think is a really
Mm.
important and maybe um, less emphasized part of fitness, but knowing when to rest or do recovery style of movement, I think can be a really important part. Part of that can be actually quite challenging. Learning to relax the body is actually can be just as challenging of a practice as doing strength training or other conditioning. So I think the balance of when to work hard, when to take that rest, and just learning more of that internal guide that tells you what's right for your body, I think is maybe more what my fitness philosophy is right now in terms of engaging in movement and how it complements my dance form as well. Mm-hmm.
Nice, nice. That's really, yeah, I think rest is definitely an important one. It's
Mm-hmm.
underemphasized and it's
Yeah.
challenging. Like for those of us who are committed and dedicated, we want to keep pushing forwards and forget that part of the pushing forwards needs to be the rest.
Yeah. And I've gotten more recently into, mobility type of work. So I think working with the body in a way that helps you open up the body. So you're strengthening certain things, but learning to relax others. I think, and release techniques like foam rolling and using release massage balls and all of those things, those I think are really great complements to a fitness routine. Um, in addition to, are what we normally think of with resistance training and with cardiovascular exercise. So definitely incorporate those as well regularly. But I think
Yeah,
what's newest for me is this idea of balance.
nice, nice. I like it. I like it. So, what does your own personal practice look like, if you don't mind sharing a little bit of it?
Yeah, sure. So I usually do pretty moderate cardio. So I'll talk maybe in like three categories. So cardiovascular or aerobic activity, you usually do very moderate cardio. So I'm lucky enough to live on a walking path on a hill. So many days my cardio practice, it's most days a week. I don't try to hold myself to too rigid of a schedule. And I think part of that flexibility helps me with balance. But
Mm-hmm.
most days a week, I try to spend 30 minutes. And sometimes it's literally just walking up and down the hill, right? Get my heart rate up, get in that moderate activity zone. And that's a pretty typical, I would say, cardiovascular practice for me. I also do dance for cardio as well. I love Latin dance music
Mm,
forms of all types. So sometimes it'll be putting on a playlist of 20, 30 minutes and just salsaing to my heart's content.
amazing.
That's a great way to get your heart rate up and super fun. So those are maybe some ways that I incorporate aerobic activity. Again, just most days a week. Um, Sometimes those things vary though. And then the second category is strength training, which I'm finding as I get older is especially important for my dance practice because it helps me stay strong. It improves my balance. I definitely notice how it can help me access movement in a safe way. So that strength training is something that I've really found to be really important. So I do try to do strength training a couple times a week at least,
Mhm.
and just getting all of the major muscle groups. And that can look different depending on what my body's feeling like. Sometimes it's body weight exercises, so doing yoga and Pilates training. Sometimes I get into kettlebells and hand weights and things like that. Sometimes
Mhm.
I'll use more traditional kind of strength training. Sometimes it's using other props like resistance bands or those big exercise balls. So I
Oh
like to
yeah,
change
yeah.
things up with my
Nice.
routine. It keeps me and my body kind of interested and engaged in the practice. So that's about two times a week. And then the third kind of category is maybe that like functional movement. And those are just small little like movement snacks. You know, I can't remember, I think it was Anula Meyerberg. If you folks like Pilates, I would really recommend following her. That's an
What was the
aside.
name again? Sorry.
Anula Meyerberg, I think it's under like Pilates Human or something like that. I'll
Okay.
link it in the comments at some point
Yeah,
here,
do.
but she introduced me to this idea of movement snacks where it can be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And I think that's really similar to some of the work you do, where it's like, just get those minutes in and those minutes add up. So that functional exercise piece is really about getting those few minutes in.
Mhm.
So it looks like, you know, most days a week when I can, doing a yoga practice that includes breathing exercises, some
Mhm.
postures, and some meditation, and maybe some reading or journaling. So that's kind of part of that, as well as like maybe a Pilates practice, which is more mind body coordination type of movement. So that's maybe those small little practices, you know, 5, 10,
Yeah,
15, 20 minutes at a time, kind of sprinkled
nice.
throughout the week. So yeah, so that's maybe what my routine kind of looks like. So um, yeah. Anyway, that's maybe it
Yeah, no,
in
thank
a
you so much for
nutshell.
sharing. I'm always really
Mhm.
interested to know what other professionals are doing for themselves because I think we have a
Mhm.
habit of when we're on social media, we talk about like, you know, what we're trying to encourage people who follow us to do as well. It's
Mhm.
interesting to know if that's similar or different to what you might do for yourself and as well. And it's always interesting to know
Mhm.
how you incorporate stuff into your own life.
Yeah.
Um, so, are you training with anyone specifically at the moment, either for dance or for fitness? And is there anyone you'd love to train with if money and time were no object?
Oh, that's a great question. So, I'm always training with Violet Kind and Fly Fusion. So, I'm part of the online studio, so it's so easy to get in there and find a video class that looks fun and take it.
Hmm.
So, I'm always doing bits and pieces of fusion dance, which is really fun complement to um, some of the other dance styles that I do, which are yeah, different in movement patterns. So that's definitely someone I'm always training with, as well as you know you and Stacy and some of the other teachers as well on Fly Fusion.
You?
I currently like to take class. So with the advent of online classes being so much more widely available, the Alvin Ailey Dance Theater and many
Mm.
other dance studios and theaters are offering online classes. So I actually love to pop into their online classes when I can. That's the Alvin Ailey Extension School. So
Hmm. I
one
know it.
one class, one teacher I really enjoy taking class from is Olivia Bowman Jackson. She teaches a yoga and Pilates kind of and dance inspired fusion class.
Mhm.
it's just luscious. I love that. So I'm really trying to take advantage of those online offerings when I can, because it just gives you an opportunity to train with people you never would be able to, you know.
Mhm.
And another studio is actually in Minneapolis, which is just north of where I live in Mankato in Minnesota. And that studio is called One Yoga. They also have they've gone back to more in studio classes, but they still offer all of those live streaming. So you can actually be in the studio but not be in the studio. And while
Oh,
that's not
nice.
it's not quite as far of a drive. Alvin Ailey's out of New York City, right?
Yeah.
It's Minneapolis is like, an hour and a half drive from where I live. It's still just a wonderful opportunity. And I love the mission of One Yoga. They're really focused on social justice as part of the yoga practice,
Oh,
and
nice.
on supporting BIPOC individuals in that community. It's just a beautiful studio and wonderful accessible classes. So that's another maybe kind of folks that I'm training with currently. And a big wish, honestly, this is um, I love Roz the Diva. If you folks have follow her on Instagram,
Who's that again? What was the name again?
Roz the Diva is username.
Okay.
But she is a personal trainer. She's a pole dancer. She's just a fabulous individual. I love her authentic and just truly her expression on social media. And I just think I would be so thrilled to get a chance to train with her. And she's really passionate about making fitness accessible to as many people, especially folks who have felt like they didn't belong in fitness
Mm,
spaces. And
nice.
I love that mission, and I just would love if time and money were no object, that would be someone I would work with for sure.
Nice, nice. Oh, I will have to check her out for sure. Yeah, I didn't even think about looking at Ailey classes online. I've been to New York a couple of times, and the first time I went and took an Ailey class, the studio blew my mind because it's got all these big glass windows, and then you've got the New York skyline behind you. And I'm not, I haven't got a lot of um contemporary or ballet history, so I was definitely like in the bottom level of the people in the class, and but it felt so welcoming and supportive, and all the more advanced
Mm-hmm.
dancers were, there was no, didn't feel like there was a hierarchy or anything. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it was amazing. So I'm gonna have to check out some of their online
Yeah,
classes for
it,
sure.
it's
Thank
wonderful. Yeah.
so who inspires you in dance and why?
Hmm. Well, I think there's a lot of folks. I I don't practice as much aerial dance before, but I also used to practice a lot of aerial dance. So, um, some folks that have always inspired me have been my teachers, honestly. So, some of those teachers, I'm thinking of, um, she goes by Miss Angie, MYSS Angie on Instagram, but what she's a pole dance instructor primarily, but she's also a fitness trainer, and she's someone that I've worked with and that has I've just always really been inspired by her, just her strength and balance and just solidity, and the way she really emphasizes that cross training for folks as an avenue, as an opening for dance movement. And I just think that's always been really inspiring to me. So that's one of my teachers I'm thinking about with dance in the aerial realm. There are many others. Um, uh, yeah,
Cool.
Cade from 2 Defy Gravity, that he's one of my other aerial coaches from back in the day, and he combines contemporary style choreography with aerial dance in just creative and unique ways, very character driven in a lot of ways, or concept driven, that I always find very inspiring in that way, where it's about creating an experience through that dance art. Of course, there's Violet Kind, who started the Fly Fusion Studio. Her creativity and energy is always an inspiration
I
to
know,
me.
right? Mm,
So I love that she's unafraid to try something completely different and put together movements that are unexpected, that break the mold, that challenge, that that surprise, creep people out in the best way. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
So I'm just inspired by that creative bravery and that as well. So maybe those are a few people that I'm thinking of right now.
Nice.
There are so many others. It's hard to name them all,
It's sorry. It's a,
Yeah.
how do you narrow that one down? But yeah, we love you, Violet.
Yes.
Yeah, totally. I echo and everything you said about Violet there. It's like, yeah, yes, indeed. Her weird and wonderful movement is so beautiful and fascinating. Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And where would you like to take your dance fitness movement in future? What are your personal aspirations?
That's a really good question. I think if I'm thinking about really my own dance practice, I'm really hoping to continue to move for a long time, for the rest of my life.
Mm,
Like I'd love to just be able to maintain that ability to enjoy movement and feel free in that movement and not feel restricted or limited. Of course, our bodies change over time. That's to be expected and just part of the practice. But I think in terms of fitness and dance, really, I think longevity is the name of the game, to continue to learn and grow and get to know my body as it changes and as I change. And I think that's really what my goal is with fitness and dance. Is really, if it comes down to it, it's really just about seeking more joy in life.
I
And I
love
think
it.
dance movement and fitness is a big part of that, because that is a gateway to that joyful movement, right?
Ah,
Mhm.
I love it. That's so cool. Yeah. I mean, yeah, and that such seems like a simple thing, but it is, yeah, it's really what it's all about, isn't it?
Mhm.
For sure, definitely. And um, have you got anything going on at the moment that you'd like to talk about, or anything particularly you'd like to share that I haven't asked you about?
Um, well, I don't have anything on the books right now, just more local stuff. So,
Mhm.
but I always teach some online classes here and there. So you can definitely take class live with me or record it on the Fly Fusion online studio. So I'd
Mhm.
love for you to join me there in that space. And then I also teach through Sun Moon Yoga. I don't have any online classes there currently, but that's always a good place. Sun Moon Yoga Mankato is another place you can catch classes with me
Nice.
every so often. So those are maybe the two things I would talk
Cool.
about. Yeah, yeah.
Nice. Cool, cool. Well, final question. What makes you feel strong and badass in dance and in your everyday life?
Hmm. This seems like maybe an odd answer to that, but I think persistence is something that makes me feel strong. Um, for anyone who maybe has had an injury or a dance injury,
Mhm.
you can maybe relate. But I think back to some of my, injuries. I've had a shoulder injury, I've had a knee injury, an ankle injury, a back injury. What has always, I think, made me feel strong and made me feel really ready to, take on the world and be a total badass is knowing that I can continue to persist forward and to take care of myself, to get stronger, to recover from that injury, or to get stronger or more flexible, or whatever my goal is. That persistence, I think, in that consistent practice
Mhm.
is what makes me feel badass, because it's like, yes, that is something I know I can do to make a difference. Just keep going, right? It's as simple
Mhm.
as that. hmm but
For
pretty
sure, for
powerful.
sure. I don't think that's a weird answer at all. I think that's perfect. I think it's so true,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, no, thank you so much for sharing that. Well, thank you so much, Betty. It's been
You.
great chatting to you
Oh,
today.
it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
And yeah, thank you so much for joining me. And I will get this somehow downloaded and re-uploaded so that people who didn't join us live can watch it on catch up.
Awesome.
And if I'll pop some links in the comments, but if you think of anyone else you want to link in the comments when I post it, that would be great too.
Okay. Fabulous.
Oh,
All
lovely.
right.
Well, hopefully, maybe I'll see you in person at some point. I've
Oh,
missed not
I,
coming to Mankato for the last few years, but
uh,
hopefully soon.
yes, I hope so. Same.
All
All right.
right. Take
Take care.
care.
Bye bye.
Bye.